Today, professional football operates as a strictly standardized system. The pitch dimensions, corner arcs, and penalty spot are defined to the millimeter. Every match requires 11 players per side, and except for the goalkeeper, using hands is strictly prohibited. But this unified global standard is a recent invention. For the vast majority of human history, the act of kicking a ball around was a chaotic, unregulated affair. Humans have always possessed a natural instinct to kick a ball. However, turning that raw impulse into a safe, organized game that different cultures could actually play together took thousands of years of trial and error. 2,000 years ago, the Aztecs played a game called chatali. Instead of synthetic leather and foam, their ball was carved from solid rock. The stakes were quite literal. The captain of the losing team was often sacrificed to local deities. Around 206 BC, the Chinese developed a variation called kuju, using a much lighter leather sphere stuffed with fur or feathers. The ancient Chinese military mandated kuju as a form of rigorous physical discipline to keep their formations in peak condition. Ancient Greek societies, the Roman Empire, and Aboriginal Australians also developed their own distinct versions of kicking and passing games. Because these regional games operated with wildly different equipment and entirely local rules, they remained geographically trapped, unable to expand beyond their own borders. By the 12th century in England, the sport regressed into a violent local pastime known as folk football. There were virtually no governing bodies. Entire villages would compete to drive a ball across town, and the lack of rules meant kicking was often supplemented by punching the ball with a fist. These matches routinely spilled through narrow streets, resulting in broken limbs and significant damage to local property. The danger grew severe enough that authorities officially banned the game for several centuries. When the game resurfaced in 17th century English public schools, a new obstacle appeared. Every single school had developed its own isolated set of rules. The most divisive issue focused on the hands. Some schools allowed catching and carrying the ball, while others viewed handling it as a foul. These unaligned local traditions acted as a hard barrier to growth, preventing players from different schools from ever meeting for a fair match. In 1848, a group of frustrated undergraduate students gathered at Cambridge University to find a solution to this confusion. They drafted 11 unified laws and nailed them to a tree on campus, creating the first true consensus that everyone could follow. One significant rule was definitive. Handling the ball with hands or arms was strictly disallowed. They also finalized the exact shape and size of the ball itself, removing the physical inconsistencies that had plagued the game for years. This specific rule set officially separated soccer from the hand-carrying game that would eventually become rugby. By finally settling the hands versus feet debate, the committee removed the primary friction point that had kept the sport fragmented for centuries. With predictable rules now in place, the game was rapidly embraced by the working class as a source of entertainment after a hard week of work. As the British Empire expanded, they took this singular rulebook with them to outposts around the globe. These shared rules allowed for a sudden surge in competition, leading to the formation of the first official domestic and international clubs. In 1872, England and Scotland met for the first official international match, followed 11 years later by the first international tournament. By establishing a single standard, players from different nations could finally meet on the pitch with a shared understanding of how to compete. Managing this new volume of global play required an international governing architecture, resulting in the founding of FIFA in 1904. The ultimate culmination of this global agreement occurred in 1930, when Uruguay hosted the inaugural FIFA World Cup. The host nation, Uruguay, was crowned as the first World Cup champions. Football is not the world's most popular sport merely because kicking a ball is fun, but because a group of students in 1848 proved that universal structure is the engine that drives a global phenomenon.